Yo, what's up? It's pretty early in the morning, 6:23 in the morning to be precise. Before we get going on today's video, I have to at least, well, we gotta try it. The Black Label Bacon with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I don't know why this exists. I don't know why this is a thing. You know how good bacon is just by itself? Well, those days are done because now we have bacon with sugary cereal infused with it. Anyway, enough chittering around. Let's go ahead and get this over with. Let's make some bacon. And get this opened up now. That don't look too bad. It does have a cinnamony smell. So that shit's in there cooking right now, and it smells like cinnamon rolls. I don't really know who this is for. I'm assuming this is for like the children who want, I guess, cinnamon bacon with their cinnamon rolls while they're having cinnamon cereal. I don't know. Look at this cat. Alright, here we go. That didn't take too long. I don't really like my bacon too crispy. I don't want to hear any fucking crying about, ooh, it's not done yet. Because, you know, this is just how I like it. But that's pretty done to me. Woo, it's hot. Probably not even any real cinnamon in here. Made with our new cinnamon byproduct, Cinnalax. Here we go. Let's try this shit. It's not bad. It's nowhere near as sweet as it smells. Have you ever heard the phrase, pork is a sweet meat or something like that? Well, now it's a little sweeter. Not super sweet, but sweet. Now that this is out of the way, now we can begin the real video. Normally when I do a movie review, I normally just focus on one movie and go through the details and all that stuff. Today's a little bit different because instead of looking at one movie, we're looking at two movies. Joyful Noise and The Man with the Screaming Brain. A friend of mine who I work with has a very vast movie collection. And he says to me one day that he was going through them and found out he's got duplicates or whatever like that, but he's getting rid of some of them, and he wanted to know if I want any of them. I said, sure, I'll take them all. I don't care, because I also have an interest in film preservation. AKA, I also collect DVDs, VHSs, and that kind of thing. I kind of just wanted to do a double feature of opposites, you know. The two movies that looked dramatically different from one another was going to be my movie picks for that night. And I'm going to do a little comparison, see how these movies stack up to one another. We're going to start with the first movie I watched. Joyful Noise stars Queen Latifah and Dolly Parton, and it is a musical, comedy, drama, faith-based movie kind of thing. It's about a church choir who wants to win the championship in the church choir battle, I guess. Kind of like Bring It On. Like, that movie introduced me to like cheerleading competitions. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know church choir competitions were a thing. So, you know, stepping into unfamiliar territory is what we're doing. The movie opens up with a song. Unfortunately, due to YouTube's Terminator AI algorithm thing, you won't be hearing any of the music, but I'm sure you can probably find the soundtrack somewhere else. So, the music is your loud, shouty, kind of soulful choir music, you know the type. As the performance is getting rowdy, Chris Christopherson starts holding his arm like, ow, something's wrong. I don't feel good. Dolly Parton notices and walks over like, hey, are you doing all right? And he's like, nah, we're all right. I think I want to go home. And she's like, all right, let's go home then. Pretty much tells Queen Latifah, you're in charge, have fun. She's like, okay then. Finish the song, no big deal. It turns out Chris Christopherson is having a heart attack and he dies. It turns out that Chris Christopherson was kind of like the glue holding this group together. And when he left and told Queen Latifah that she's in charge now, she took that literally as she's taking over this operation and she gonna run it the way she wants to. Which is fine. Everybody, for the most part, is in agreement. Her and Dolly Parton don't get along because, I don't know, they're like, I think we should do it this way. I think we should do it this way. Blah, 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 blah. And then Dolly Parton gets a call from her grandson in New York City who's like, hey, I've got nowhere else to go. Can I please stay with you? And she's like, well, sure, come on down. Dolly Parton's like, all right, come to church. I got to practice for the choir. You know how to sing. Maybe you can check it, watch us practice our choir shit. And he's like, all right, sure, yeah, whatever, I'll watch you. This guy here starts hitting on this lady here, and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm hitting on you. Don't you like it? She's like, well, kind of, I guess. Doesn't matter. Not important right now. What is important is Queen Latifah's daughter gets up and starts having a big solo. And Queen Latifah's instructing her on how to sing, and she's doing that thing, and she's like, knock that off. Sing that shit normally, please. Little side note here, I'm not a singer by any means, but I don't know what's up with these modern day singers and them doing that, like they just draw out a certain word. It's like when these singers do the national anthem and they think they're making it better by being like, and the home of the it's like, just knock that shit off, dude. Sing it normally. Save that shit for the pop station and what? She sings a big, long, super soulful ballad about Jesus and the Spirit and all that stuff like that, whatever. And as the performance is going on, Dolly Parton's grandson's like, ooh wee, I like her. As soon as the song is over, though, this stupid asshole jumps up and says, oh, are you kidding me? Let's make some noise up in this bitch. And they're all like, what the fuck did you say? Now, I'm not a church-going person at all, but you want me to believe that Dolly Parton's grandson thinks that's okay to say in church? Come on now. Time and place, motherfucker. What's wrong with you? It's like, what a disrespectful little turd. After that fun little incident, Queen Latifah and her daughter are driving home, and she's going on about how that boy ain't got no sense. No wonder his mom kicked him out. Blah, blah. He ain't been nothing but trouble since he was 5 years old. Blah, blah, blah. Queen Latifah also has a younger son. I don't remember his name, but he's like got awkward syndrome. I don't know what it is, but he acts weird. And he's always spouting off facts about one-hit wonders and such. The next day, girl is walking to school when, boy shows up and says, yo, what's up, girl? How you doing? Hey, I like the way you sing. You're like a fucking genius or some shit. I can sing too. They call me the songbird of my generation, And she's like, oh, really? And he's like, let's get out of here. Let's start a band and let's make some babies that look like you. And we're going to start noticing a trend with our main bad boy grandson character. He is constantly spouting off inappropriate, dumb shit and is always getting away with it. Nobody thinks it's weird. Nobody thinks it's, out of place or out of pocket. Tell you what, though, I'm going to use that in my next pickup line. Yo, what's up, girl? You want to go out? Maybe get some chicken? Maybe some sex? See where the night goes? And I will get the number. She's like, get this fucking guy away from me. She's like, whatever, I've had enough of your goofy shit. I gotta go to school. And he's like, all right. I'll see you when you're out of school. And she's like, whatever, fucker. Wait a minute, she's going to school? How fucking old are these people? He looks like a man. I don't know, she looks young, but if you told me she was 21, I'd buy it. Now it's time for dinner with the pastor, which, I don't know. Maybe this is a thing that I'm not aware of, but I don't know. Maybe they just hang out. This kid is not blind. That's her son with awkward syndrome. Dolly Parton and Queen Latifah make little snarky comments back and forth. Girls like, I think boys should join the choir. And they're like, I don't know about that. Awkward syndrome kid says some awkward shit. And they're like, okay, kind of embarrasses himself by saying some goofy shit. And then he literally gets up, walks in the other room, pounding on the piano like a crazy person. I keep calling this kid's disorder awkward syndrome because they say he has Asperger's syndrome. I don't really know anything about Asperger's syndrome. I'm just pretty sure it doesn't make you act like a crazy person. Like, he's sitting there spouting off a fact about some one-hit wonder band or whatever, and then when everybody's like, okay, don't care, he gets up, goes in the other room, and starts ding, 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 ding on the piano, being all loud and awkward, to the point where they gotta get up and be like, can you stop, please? Can you knock it off, honey? That would be great, yeah. It's awkward, and it's weird, and I think if I had Asperger's syndrome, I would be offended by how they're depicting this disease in the movie. But bad boy grandson walks up and says, hey man, let me show you something real quick. And they literally sit down and he starts playing the piano and singing the one-hit wonder song that he was singing, like perfectly. And she's like, wow, you can sing. Maybe I should put you in the choir. Some time passes and he starts dating her daughter. And she's like, you know what? I like how you've been hanging out with my son and teaching him piano, and you can sing. How about joining the choir? And wouldn't you know, they let him try out, and he starts giving a Grammy-worthy performance. He sings a gospel version of that Paul McCartney song, oh, that maybe I'm amazed at the way you pulled me out of blood. I don't know the words, but you know that song. But he sings it like he's singing about God and Jesus and not about, a girl, whatever, like that. Blah, blah, blah. He becomes a part of the band and he starts kicking ass and inspiring everybody. Uh-oh, more bonding, more date time shenanigans. Hey girl, how about making babies? You still want to do that? As the young people are frolicking around, these two are like, wow, I wish I had someone to love. And then they look at each other and blah, blah, blah. And then they go to town. Next morning, she's like, honey boo, are you awake? Wait a minute, what's wrong with you? Wait, did he fucking die? Oh, shit. You saw what his face looked like when he was laying in the bed. That's the look of a man whose soul has left through his penis. Way to go, she fucked him to death. I love this still shot here. It looks like the Reverend just shit his pants and everyone's reacting to it. Tell you what, that's a pretty interesting side plot to have in a Christian film. Because it's like, they weren't married. That was just a fling. A lot of these movies don't really do that, so bold move, movie. A little while later, bad boy convinces girl to sneak out of her house, and then they go driving off in the middle of the night. Where do they end up going? To a fucking nightclub. How old are these people? Did they sneak in? What's this about? Anyway, blah, 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 more bonding. And then they enter the choir competition. And they travel to where it's at. And we got a big goddamn crowd, and this guy looks like he's performing at the Oscars. And this is who they gotta go up against. Long story short, they lose. They get like second place or whatever the hell. And they're driving back disappointed. But then they get news that the church choir that they lost to and won got disqualified for having paid professional musicians being part of their choir. And already I'm like, fucking Dolly Parton and Queen Latifah are a part of your choir. Are they not paid professional musicians? Just saying. So after that one band gets canceled, they're like, guess what? We're back in the competition now. And everybody's like, ooh wee yippee. And of course, because we got Dolly Parton in the movie, we have to get her to sing a solo song. And Chris Christopherson's ghost comes back to do some kind of romantic duet thing. Let's have a dance, I guess. It's kind of odd seeing it play out like this, because Chris Christopherson really is a ghost now. But fuck all that shit, we gotta get on the bus ride to LA for the competition and the finals, motherfucker, what? And the band they have to compete against is another rowdy, shouty, Grammy performance fucking type ass band, I don't know. they're over the top and they would win a fucking Grammy. The song is kind of, you know, playing out like normal. It's a loud, shouty, I believe, I believe, I believe, that kind of shit. Except toward the very end, where the music starts speeding up faster and faster and faster and faster, and then he literally goes, and the subtitle says, speaking in tongues. If I was a judge on that panel and I heard that part, I would instantly be like, no, you are not winning this competition with that shit. I can say that. If you're speaking in tongues like that, and you think that is an acceptable form of communication and or song lyrics, you are a crazy person. I don't really like old jazz scat music myself, really. Except for that one guy, you know, I'm a scat man, you know, that guy. He's like the only one of those I can tolerate. Everybody else is like, blah, 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 and it's like, fuck off, dude, write words. What's wrong with you? If you can't write words, play an instrument. If you can't do either, stop making music. And of course, when they go on and play their song, they raise the roof and they destroy all competition. Of course, they win the big giant gold trophy and become champions, of course. Everybody's all happy, boy and girl smooch, and movie's pretty much over. Movie wraps up, pretty much everybody's all happy, they go back home champions, and everybody's happy and whatever, you know what I mean? Wow, I'm glad that movie's over, kinda. I need to hear some real joyful noise. Ah, that's better. Now, I'm not, let's say, a churchgoer, let's say, if you couldn't tell. So the music is not really for me, but I can recognize a good performance when I see it. And a lot of these people are singing their hearts out. Dolly Parton sounds like Dolly Parton and turns in another Dolly Parton performance. I've seen two other movies with her in it, 9 to 5 and Rhinestone, and she pretty much plays the same character, you know, in both of them. She's just an older version in this one. I can only think of one other movie I know Queen Latifah from, and that's Stranger Than Fiction, and I do really like her straight man delivery. She's really grounded in reality. Her and Dolly Parton literally have a fight in the middle of a diner. I was ready for this movie to bore the fuck out of me, and pretty much like make me sigh and roll my eyes the whole time. This movie moves at a breakneck pace. Everything happens so fast. It's like bam, 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 movie end. It moves fast enough to where I was never bored. But as soon as I was like, this scene's lasting too long, it would switch to something else. I'm like, ah, cool. And it did that the whole movie. The only thing that I wish they would have trimmed was the length of some of these songs. Because it's like, they write, I don't know, maybe 5 sentences worth of lyrics and then repeat it ad nauseum. Again, no offense, the song did not need to be 7 minutes long. Next movie I watched was The Man with the Screaming Brain. Written, directed, and starring Bruce Campbell. If you're a horror fan, Bruce Campbell doesn't really need an introduction. Star of the Evil Dead series, known for his long-time friendship and collaboration with Sam Raimi. Apparently, The Man with the Screaming Brain was an idea he had all the way back in the 80s, and it took him over 30 years before he was finally able to bring his vision to life. Well, with that kind of setup, it's gotta be brilliant, right? So I finished the video and I uploaded it, and I immediately got blocked by the company that owns The Man with the Screaming Brain. I don't know why, because I filmed it the same way I did Joyful Noise, just muted with me talking over it. But I guess I'm not even allowed to show images of this movie because it's so graphic, right? No. Thanks to the wonderful people at the Lasso Group, whoever the fuck they are, I'm just going to talk about it now. Bruce Campbell is a super rich business guy, and he is traveling with his wife to Bulgaria. When they get to Bulgaria, he hires a cab driver to drive him around to all his different business meetings. They drive on their way to the hotel, and on the way they run into some girl, and the driver and the girl share a look like they know each other. In the meantime, there is a old mad scientist type doctor played by Stacy Keach, and his little Igor assistant is Ted Raimi. And the doctor pretty much has discovered a way to rebuild brains using donor parts. So if somebody suffers a massive head trauma, he can repair the brain using donor parts and everything will be just fine. Whatever. It's still in the experimental phase, and he needs more test subjects, I guess, whatever. Apparently the cab driver has a crazy ex-girlfriend who thinks that the ring that he gave to Bruce Campbell belongs to her and blah. Long story short, shenanigans. The crazy ex-girlfriend ends up killing Bruce Campbell, the wife, and the cab driver. Ted Raimi and the doctor figure this out. They take him back to the lab, and it turns out they can rebuild Bruce's brain using donor parts from the cab driver. And his wife's brain gets put into some cheap-looking robot that Ted Raimi is playing with. Bruce Campbell wakes up. He's got this big, ugly prosthetic on his head. And he can hear a voice in his head, and it's like controlling the left side of his body. So for a minute, we get some possessed Bruce Campbell antics, like, oh, my arm, it's acting on its own, and he hears a voice in his head, like Venom, you know what I mean? They agree to disagree and be like, we need to work together. We're going to get revenge for this crazy lady who did this to us. The wife is literally walking around in a robot body, and shenanigans ensue. Long story short, they get revenge on the crazy ex-girlfriend. They end up killing her, but the robot body gets too badly damaged. So in order to save his wife, they put her brain inside of crazy ex-girlfriend's body. Happily ever after. The end. In the special features, Bruce Campbell talks about he had this idea to make this movie all the way back when they were making the original Evil Dead back in the 80s. And he said it's now taken him over 30 years to get this movie made. Bouncing around from producer to company to investors who are interested but backed out, whatever the hell. But eventually the Sci-Fi Channel gets a hold of him. And they give him, you know, they help him out. They get him to make it. And they make a little cheap TV movie version of, I guess, his vision or whatever. The movie is filmed in Bulgaria. Bruce Campbell even says that they chose to go to Bulgaria because the average income for a person down there is like $120 a month. So, with his budget, he was able to hire a whole crew to make his movie. There's a couple of funny moments in there, like when he first breaks out of the doctor's office, he's still in hospital clothes with his big open head wound, and he's running around, and he runs into a public park, and a bunch of kids are screaming. It's kind of a funny moment. He gets into a bar fight at one point, and it's kind of done up like a Western, like beer bottles are getting thrown, guys are getting slammed on tables and shit. Like, and there's these big giant statues he runs by that I guess from when Bulgaria used to be part of the USSR. So those are kind of cool. Couple of neat historical monuments. The movie wasn't necessarily bad. I don't know, if it took me 30 years to make a movie, I think it would turn out better than this. Like, and I don't want to hear that crap about, oh, it's a low-budget movie, he did the best he could. I mean, he did, I guess, but except that Bruce Campbell got famous for being in one of the greatest low-budget horror films of all time, Evil Dead. It raised the bar on what low-budget filmmaking could accomplish. You're expecting Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness level, you're not going to get it here. This movie is more in the same vein of like National Lampoons. Yeah, so that was my double feature. I honestly just picked the two movies that looked the most different and just kind of ran with it. At the end of the day, I have found something these movies have in common though. Can't really recommend these movies to anybody because they're so strictly made for their own core audience. Like if you like Dolly Parton and musicals and movies about church and stuff like that, then you're gonna go grab Joyful Noise. Or if you're a horror nerd like me and you hear Bruce Campbell made a movie called The Man with the Screaming Brain, you're like, yeah, let's go grab it. And then you grab it and it ends up being what it is, and it's just, I don't know, slightly, you know, a little disappointing if you ask me. This was me stepping out of my normal realm to go exploring, let's say. I mean, they were fine, they were okay. Like I said, I can't really recommend them to anybody because they're so strictly made for their own core audience that you couldn't really casually suggest one or the other. You know, if you're in the mood for a stupid slapstick sci-fi movie, go watch Man with a Screaming Brain. If you want to watch a musical about church, then go watch Joyful Noise. I don't know. Well, that's it. I'm done talking about these movies now. I've wasted too much time doing this shit. I hate to end a video like this, but honestly, what am I supposed to do? Fight the claim and shit like that? That just wastes too much time. I want to move on. I want to do something else. That being said, if you made it to the end of the video, then thank you so much, dude. Like, really. If you like the video, please leave it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing if you want to. No pressure. But that's gonna do it for me. Hopefully this video gets uploaded and it doesn't get fucking blocked or anything, but we'll see. So, see you next time.